What was the push in becoming like the best in your school then?
One of the first motivations was the fact that I did not want to squander my parents' investment. So when I got in 100 level, I just made that decision. If I'm here, then I have to be the best. From 300 level, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the lecturers who was like a mentor. He was a mentor to me. So at that point, he told me I had the potential or I could become the best graduating student because I was in one of the highest GPA. Think it was probably me and some other lady in my class.
What was the inspiration to write this book?
Okay, so I did struggle with masturbation, with the addiction, and then so the few years after I had overcome, my devotion was really solid in terms of being consistent in my relationship with God. And I just felt that day. I had written it in one of my devotion times, but I think I disregarded it because I was scared. So even though I was scared and disregarded it, I wrote it down because I write down my devotion times, even if I'm not sure whether it's Holy Spirit or it's my thoughts, I just write it down. Maybe a few months after, I wrote it down again. And I'm like, wait, I've written something down like this before. Desire to write it. And then gradually it became more like a burden. I was still in school when I released that book.
Yeah.
That burden, that leading was really strong. Consistent devotion and relationship with God.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Learn With Me series. On today's episode, I have an amazing friend with me, a very good friend to me, joining us on this episode. Hello, Jesugbogo.
Hi.
Yes, Bogo. Wow, it's a pleasure of mine to have you on on my show. Thank you for accepting
Thank you.
the
Fine.
invitation. Yes. So, Bogo, we met just for context for people watching, we met in 2022. No, 2023. 2023.
And
2023. Yes.
well, okay, yeah, 2023, yeah.
Yeah, it should be 2023. So 2023, that was when we went for service at Crawford University. So I think you came in much later on. I was already there, then you came in. Yes. So and it was an interesting experience for like everyone at Crawford University. I think Crawford Crawford was like taking all the best students. Like we have a scholar here with us, right? So that's interesting. And there's something that you said one day that I was like, this girl is something. I was talking about something and you were like, Bogo, you said you were like always learning. I was like, who says that? Like you were excited to learn about like what I was saying. I was like, this is interesting. Like even before I knew that, yes, so this girl is a scholar of favorite. This is it. Yes, so thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure of mine. I've had Victor. Victor also served with us. Victor, yes, I've had him on the show. Yes, and Lukman, yes. So Victor was last year, season 1. Then Lukman was early this year in January. So I've had Lukman also on the show. So I've had all the scholars that we served together. It's and I'm grateful for that period. I remember you did not like Crawford. But before we jump into that, I would like you to introduce yourself first. Let's know you.
Okay. So my name is Jesugbogo Enis. I am the founder of Gifted Being Academy, where I teach students how to excel academically. Besides that, I'm also a grad student currently studying chemistry.
All right. Scholar. Came. Okay. All right, that is good. So let's go back to what we were saying before. You mentioned we'll talk about gifted brain, by the way. What happened to your service here? I know you finished school. You graduated from Wesley University, I believe, at Ondo State. So you're the best graduating student 2021 set, and you came out with a 3.97 over 4, right? Not 5, but the 4 was the max CGPA. I wonder who you left the 0.03
Never.
for. Yeah? Yeah, what did you leave it
It
to?
was So the course I underestimated, so yeah, 3 unit course
Okay,
I thought people needs and
okay.
yeah.
So you got a B in that course.
Yes, I
Oh wow.
underestimated it. I didn't read well enough.
So if you had read well enough, you would have gotten 4/4. Ah, hey,
Probably.
Bogo, when will somebody be like you like this now? Eh? All right. So before I jump into that, I kind of know what happened, right? So let me digress a little bit. So Bogo, you've branded yourself as a productivity and time management coach. I should have mentioned this. Bogo is also my coach. She's my coach when it comes to like productivity, time management. She's helping me to figure out like what I'm doing. I joined her class and it has been helpful, right? It's just for me to like sit down and make sure I structure everything right. And moving back to what we were saying. So you now you're focused on productivity, you're focused on time management. But before all of this, let's still go back to the school era. Like you finished as the best graduating student. I wonder what like what was that thing that pushed you to like say, okay, I want to come out the best. Like I want to read, I want to study. You finished industrial chemistry, I believe. And that's
Yes.
not the like me now, I did not like chemistry in
A lot of
secondary
people
school.
don't.
Like, oh my God, chemistry and wala. I was
Yeah.
and you came out best. So, what was that push? Let's start from there. What was the push in becoming like the best in your school then?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. Very interesting because it's something I'm talking about in my book, the new book that I'm about to release. And
Okay,
uh, I would say, to be sincere, one of the first motivation was the fact that I did not want to squander my parents' investment. Yeah, so I actually wanted to study at Unilore, but I didn't get admission to Unilore, right? And
okay,
because I didn't want to retake JAM, my parents made that investment to put me in Wesley. And that was even the first time
okay,
I was hearing about Wesley University in those states. Before then, I never knew that such a school existed. So when I got in 100 level, I just made that decision. If I'm here, then I have to be the best. And it was a very, I won't say simple decision, but at the start, it was just a simple decision that I have to come out the best, right? It's a private school, so it should not, you know, I should just be the best. I should not waste this my parents' investment. That was the beginning. So I was the best in the first class. So my initial decision was to come out of the first class, right, which is the best. But then
yes,
as we went on, and then in 100 level, pretty much it was more like, especially the first semester, more like revision of what we had done in secondary school. And I studied very well for my WAEC and JAM, so it wasn't that difficult, honestly. And we, our teachers were actually teaching in 100 level, I would say. Yeah, so, and then it was, I just had to study and make sure I pass my exams. But then from 300 level, I was already on a first class, right? From 300 level, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the lecturers who was like a mentor. He was a mentor to me. So at that point, he told me I was, I had the, potential, or I could become the best graduating student because I was on one of the highest CGPA. Think it was probably me and some
okay,
other lady in my class. So I didn't know
okay,
that before. I just knew that, oh, I'm on first class. In fact, at that point, because it's 300 level, I know at 300 level, it's still possible for
yeah,
you to drop to a lower grade, but I just, at that point, I wanted to enjoy myself because 100 level, 200 level, I was just focused on
you've been
reading,
reading.
food, library. Everybody knew it's from school. I mean, it's from class to library to church and all
Hmm.
of that. So from 200 level, I wanted to like maybe just relax a little bit. But then when he told me, um, I then made the decision. So then I made the decision to come out as the best graduating student. So from that point, I knew that I could not afford to get any other B, right? If I was to come out the best graduating, so that it's either I come out the best graduating or I share it with the other lady. So that was
Yes.
what happened. So I think I would say it was a decision I made. First motivated by the fact that I just wanted to make my parents proud. Right. But
Yeah.
then from 300 level, I wanted them to become the best. Like, okay, if I'm already at this point, why not then just push to be the best, right? And
Yeah.
thankfully, I did.
That's good. I admire the teacher like calling you to the lecturer rather calling you that hey you're already here or like just a little bit further. If not, like you said, you might have maybe relaxed a
Yeah, I
little
was
bit.
always do big
Yeah.
girl, on campus. So at that point, I started dressing well. Because before 100 level, 200 level, I did not
Ah,
care. But from
okay.
400 level, and then before that, I also wasn't making my hair, right? Because my dad um instructed me not to make my hair. Long story. But
Mm.
so from
Okay.
400 level, right, I started making my hair. So it's just now focusing on other things outside academics, which could have been a
Yeah.
distraction. But thankfully, because I knew, oh, I can get this since I'm close, I made it, my goal.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So the first thing was like a motivation came. Okay, let me make my parents proud. And then over time it became like a decision that you followed through. That's interesting. Some people make the decision like I'm going to like make a first class or come out the best, right? But then they never see it through. Probably because they don't know how to say it's true. Right. But I admire that you saw it through, right? And would you say it's paid off, right? Like putting that all that effort, all that hours reading and all those reading, chemistry, learning all those what do they call them again? Oh you see, I don't like chemistry that I don't remember anything. All those bonds and all those chemical
Uh,
stuff bonding together.
yeah.
Yeah. So was it worth it?
I would say yes, it was worth it. Because I mean, if you can be the best, then be the best. I mean, especially when the circumstances have not happened yet. But if
Yeah.
circumstances have happened and I mean, there's no way you can get on a first class anymore, then it's fine. But if it's still possible, why not just be the best? So I would say it paid off because
Yeah.
first, um, it gave me it gave me the opportunity to have good relationship with my lecturers. Right. So
Hmm.
I I had that good relationship with lecturers. I had experience since from that good relationship or from those good relationships I'll be able to put in my CV. Right. And right now my lecturers, those lecturers are my recommenders. And then it paid off also because I got the NC, my Katairo scholarship, which I
Yes.
probably wouldn't have gotten if, I didn't like come out with such a good grade because that's one of the things they look at when they look at your strong profile, which, like I said, also was because I had a good relationship with my lecturers. And what other way I would say, and then also the skill, like the habits it's built in me. Yeah, it's also paid off because now I'm in grad school and it's basically the
Yeah.
same study habits I had then, just restructuring
More
and
structured.
adjusting. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically the same study habits I developed then that is helping me now to thrive in grad
Hmm.
school. So yes, it paid off because if I didn't do those things myself, I won't be able to do them now, undergoing
Yeah.
my master's degree program. And another way I would say it's paid off is, oh, one came to my mind now, I've forgotten. Okay, yes, I remember. I don't have regrets also because it got to a point in during my undergraduate degree that, I started gifted brain started there. So
Okay.
from 300 level, even from 200 level, we started with peer tutoring. I was tutoring those in 100 level. And that was
Okay.
what even made me understand chemistry better because then I know, okay, I have to explain this to someone else. I started with my classmates first, my course mates. Sorry, I
Yes.
had to explain it to them. So knowing that I'm not just studying for myself, but also to explain to these guys to
Hmm.
make them understand would make me study differently. it's one of the ways to even
To
learn
be
better,
better.
teaching others. Yeah,
Mm.
so that really helps me. So I'm teaching you, but then I have to study twice or study even more than, right?
Mm.
Because I know I have to teach someone else. So that also paid off, right? And then that was the seed that grew into Gifted Brain Academy. Then I reached expanded, started reaching out to secondary schools during my internship. So I would say I don't have that regret because at that point I was able to balance it. Although I do wish I,
Yes.
did a lot more aside academics, but yeah, I don't have the regrets. I have my own life to do all of that.
Yeah. It's good that you focused on like one goal and you did it, you pursued it very well. And I believe, like what you said, it paid off, right? That's giving you scholarship, that's giving you access. That's interesting. And it also like gave the birth to like something now that you're passionate about, Gifted Brain Academy. I've seen your work. I was privileged to attend the debates competition last year. You were not around, so I said, let me go and represent my friend at Crawford
Thank you so much
University.
for that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So it was interesting being there. I also read your book super fast, right? Like as we were talking, it just remember like I just remembered some of the principles in that your book. I was like, hmm. And I like the fact that you mentioned teaching. So you were not learning for yourself. You
exactly.
obviously you were learning for yourself too, but not just yourself alone, but also with the hopes of passing this knowledge. So you were a first class student that had the intention of passing on that knowledge. That's interesting because so, like, I remember the very best in my school, right? The very best guy in my school. I've also had him on this show. His name, okay, not the best in my school, sorry. The best in my class, not in my school. Let me, let me correct that. So the best student in the computer science department in my class, I've also had him on this show. His name is Isaac Oyekunle, I believe. Isaac, yes. But, so I don't think he at the time loved like teaching, but he also like has this e-learning platform that he organized. So I admire him because it was more business oriented. So he would charge for maybe the teachings and the trainings and all of that. So where all of us that do not know will gather and ourselves to try to teach ourselves, most times you will not see him there. So this is not to throw a shade to him. This is not
Yeah.
wait, let me be clear. In case he watches this, please, Isaac, I admire you. I'm not throwing any shades, I beg. Right? I'm just saying, I'm not comparing also. I'm just like trying to see like the two different like approach. So thank you for sharing that. I think your approach was very good, right? Teaching others so that you can like learning so that you can also teach others. I believe it's one of the greatest way of learning, right? Which you also emphasized in your book. I believe super fast. The last T is for teaching, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I still remember. Oh no, oh no. So that's good. So now let's talk about gifted brain. You've told us a little bit why you started gifted brain, but let's expand it further. So I believe you started 2019, right? And it's an NGO. It has been running for 2019, 2026. How many years now? 26 minus 19. 20. So that is 6 years each. Yeah. So it has been running for 7 years, I believe, 7 years now. So how has it been figuring that out? Like even after school, even now doing your masters and it's still running. So how did you come about people? How did you were you able to manage people? Maybe just share a little bit on that before we move on.
Okay. So yeah, it started out of passion and just something I as a personal thing. Yeah, so just going to schools, but then when I'm going to school, I can't just say it's me, just to for to package it well. I would say that was when yeah I had to come up with a name, and it started first as channel brain, but then I just that change happened, and I would say it's been good, right? However, it's not been my sole focus in the sense that I'm doing I've always been doing it alongside study. right? When I was in school and now I'm still in school.
Yeah.
But it's been consistent either way, which I'm proud of because I'm really passionate about it. And I mean, right now,
Yes.
going forward, it's something that I will give more focus to. But yeah, going to schools, reaching out to students, talking with stakeholders, teachers, and school owners, it's something that's really helped me even improve my communication skill.
Mm.
I'm still shy, but then I was really shy. But one thing I'm happy about is that the passion, I would say, was greater than the shyness. Like, I couldn't let the shyness uh, hinder that desire to make impacts, to reach out to people, to
Mm.
teach this, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, gifted brain is going well. How I manage people, um, I think it's just about communicating the vision to them, making them
Okay.
see, helping them see the same vision I see, that desire to make impact. And so that way, first I attract people that also desirous of making impacts, and then I just communicate that vision clear to them. It may not be so clear at first, but over time, and then I
Mm.
also give people a chance, right? Yeah, and that opportunity to
Okay.
learn as
Yeah.
well and learn together. That's how it's been going.
That's good. That's good. I love your response so much. I love your response so much. So, but I want us to talk about one more thing regarding gifted brain. You mentioned the passion for people, right? Of students. You wanted to, it exceeded your shyness. So, like, I'm just thinking, what could have bettered this passion, like, for students? You wanted to see them excel. Like, was it because I know you were already doing well, so like what where did that passion come from, like you
Come
wanting to
from.
see young children excel? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very good question because I think at a point I was actually reflecting on that because many people,
Yeah.
for some people, passion is better from challenges or difficulties, but I wouldn't say I exactly had difficulties. Although at some point, I struggled with chemistry in secondary school from
Mm.
SS2. Yeah, so I'm surprised I'm studying the same chemistry. So there was that point
Yes.
I did struggle with chemistry, although there was a reason for that. Things
Okay.
around how I was taught. Yeah, but at some point I had to make that I can't continue like wired GC, I failed GC and so I knew that I
Mm.
had to sit up for wired. So it was at that point I picked up new learning habits. How could I study this better? I went back to the foundation. I think that point
Mm.
also contributed to that passion because then if I struggled with this, but even though it was for that season, there are other people that struggle with
Mm.
it as well. And then just seeing people always talk about even mathematics, right? How it's difficult
Yeah.
in school. I just wanted to help them because for me it's easy and I'm like, this can be easy for
Yeah.
you too. I
For
didn't
you
grow up with
too.
it, something like that. And then I
Yeah.
think another reason that must have contributed, which is something I got recently when I was reflecting, is probably my upbringing, the way I was brought up. So my dad is passionate about education, but then also, I would say because I was sponsored through primary school and the family, they were also passionate about education. I think that we also had something to do. So imagine being sponsored through primary school. Like my dad couldn't afford to put me in school early enough. So it was this
Okay.
family from our church that sponsored me through school. And then through school, I had to report to them my results. So at that, from the onset, there was already that accountability. So it's
Yeah.
only just my parents were not the one paying my fees at that point. So I had to
Mm.
report to them, oh, this is what I got. The motivation also was I don't want to waste these people's money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to report to them. And then the times I do really well, because I was always doing well, they'll actually get me gifts. I remember one of my first Android phone was actually from them. So I think all
Okay.
of that also contributed. And then the first school I visited, the first secondary
Yes.
school I visited was our school, was the woman's school. right?
Oh, she had a school
Yeah.
too. Wow.
She had school at some point. She started the school. So when I started visiting
Okay.
secondary school during my undergrad, our school was the first one. She
Yeah.
welcomed me, as like my second
Hmm.
mom, and
Yeah.
it was a pivotal moment for me. Yeah. And I would say that also had a role to play in my passion for education. Mm. Interestingly, I
Wow.
was also
Yes.
um during my secondary school as well, the proprietress also had a role to play in my education. She
Okay.
was also, so I think those two figures in my life,
Hmm.
that were both passionate about education, also and the fact that they invested in me, I think it has also contributes to it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like, I feel this is why conversations like this is important because I've known you for since 2022. Like this side of this story now, like I've never heard it before. Well, I've never asked, right? But thank you very much for sharing that. So the people that you stayed with because you had to report to them, and also your father also was big on education, and that led you in a way. So even when you noticed you were struggling and you got better, you notice that okay, there may be other people also struggling with this. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good motivation. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so I know you have somewhere like you told me time, so let's make sure that we are time conscious. Um, so now let's jump to um your book. So you wrote a
Another.
book, another book that is not super fast. Yes. So you wrote this book. You wrote this book in 2021, right? So I believe you finished 2022, 2021. So it's like, I don't think you served immediately, right? There was a
Yes.
delay. Okay. So I believe the idea of this book came during that delay. Okay.
It
So,
was while I was in school.
okay. So it's while you were in
Yeah.
school. Oh,
Because there was
yes.
also a
So,
delay before I graduated. So even though we're at the start of 2021, I finished in
yes.
20, I think the ending of 2021. Yeah, around that time.
Oh, okay. Oh, may I ask, what was the delay?
No, I think it was just I'm not sure now because our convocation was in 2022. So within
Ah,
just maybe a few months, and probably my project took a longer time to complete.
okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. So, you started this book in your final year, I believe, right? So the
Yeah.
book, I have the book here. I got my copy. I still have my own copy. So I kept it in my shelf all this time. So I still have my copy. I had to reread it just before this session. So the book is titled Diary of a Christian Lady: How I Overcame Masturbation. Right. So I believe this is a crucial topic in today's time, right? And I want us to like talk about it a little bit, right? So first question, what was the inspiration to write this book? Why do you think why were you led or how were you led to write this book?
Okay, so I did struggle with masturbation, with the addiction, and at that point, I was in the university, and I'm I can't remember the details now, but I mean in terms of the specific years, because even when I had to write the book, I really had to
Yeah.
go back in time to get all of that details. I mean, figuratively. So the inspiration was that I struggled with this. And then it was a few years after I had overcome, about, I think about 2 years. And my devotion was really solid in terms of uh, being consistent in my relationship with God. And I
Yeah.
just felt that again. I had written it in one of my devotion times. I had written it down that, oh, this is something that I would want to talk about. I just knew I would write a book. So at that point, I hadn't written anything. I just know I'll write the book. And since I was passionate about education, I thought, okay, my first book should be about education, just talking about how
Yeah.
always come out best. But then at some other points, I just had this um idea of just reading that, oh, or inspiration from the Holy Spirit that
Mm.
I may write something like this. But I think I disregarded it because I was scared. Why would I write about something like that? So I think
Yeah.
after, but I always write down. So I wrote it down in my devotion. And this was something I shared even during the book launch. So I probably have to go and watch my speech during the book launch to remember the details. But yeah, that's the general overview. So I wrote it down. So even though I was scared and disregarded it, I wrote it down. So even because I write down my devotion times, like things I hear, even if
Mm.
it I'm not sure whether it's the Holy Spirit or it's my thoughts. I just write it down because
Yeah.
that is part of the growth, right? So
Yes.
as time goes on, you'll be able to tell the distinction, be able to tell the difference. There'll be a pattern. So that was my understanding.
Mm.
So I wrote it down then, and then when I was having the leading, maybe a few months after, I wrote it down again, and I'm like, wait, I've written something down like this before, and so
Mm.
that pattern sort of accumulated in the desire to write it. And then gradually it started becoming a desire. And gradually it became more like a burden because I know
Yes.
for a fact that if I didn't feel it so strongly as a burden, it's not something I would have
You would have not
written.
written it.
I wouldn't have written it because
Yes.
when I even started, I didn't inform my parents. I just started writing it. And yeah, so it's that I think that was how it started. Even when I wasn't sure, I wrote it down. When it came again, I wrote it down, I went back, and then I started praying about it. And then courage came to start taking steps. So I reached out to an editor, and the editor just took it so well.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, so all of those things started happening that became like signs that, oh, this is something that you need to write, and this is the time to write because there was also another thing about timing. I was
Mm.
still in school when I released that book,
Yeah.
and it was crazy because
Mm.
okay, let me at least leave school first before I release the book. But yeah, so
Yes.
that that leading was really strong for consistent devotion and relationship with God.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Right. I read the book again and it was still like a blessing, right? I know I read it only once back then, right? But I had to reread it again. It was so good. So I also I also struggled with masturbation. I struggled with watching pornography and that. I believe you were the first one I told at while we were serving. So I believe you were the first one I told as a friend then, right? Yeah, so and I noticed it from your book, right? I knew that you also struggled with this, and I think I bought the book first, then it took me a while, then I told you, and yeah, and also you've been helping me along the journey. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Also, thank you for being late and listening to write this book, right? So okay, that aside, I know I have some context because I've read the book, right? But for those listening that has not read this book, I want you to maybe there's no need to talk about like how we started, right? Because there's always a start. But I want you to, if you can remember, talk about like how what were the struggles, what were the battles? Because I believe you were raised in a Christian home. You were raised in, uh, you were going to church, right? Your parents, I believe in the book, you mentioned your father was a pastor, right? So, um, what were the struggles that one will notice with addiction? Like how can one tell? Because there's something you said that you wrote in the book that I also noticed that this same pattern, this is a pattern, right? Was you, you would appear focused, right? You would appear focused, you would appear maybe shy a little bit, but there will be some kind of focus, like trying to hide that you are struggling with something. right? So I want to talk about that a little bit. Like, what are some of the signs? I feel I'm digressing a little bit. Let me just ask this so that you can answer. What are some of the signs that you would notice with someone like struggling with any form of addiction? Right, because I know you're a productivity coach, and I believe this is in your area of expertise. So, what are some of the signs that, like, when you see this in a person, irrespective of how well the person is might appear doing, right? Because truthfully, you can be struggling and
Bingo.
be like the very best. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I've
Fine.
seen it. I've seen it to myself. I believe you also wrote about it in the book.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what are the signs that one can see and say, this person, something is wrong? So yeah, I would like you to talk about that a little bit.
Hmm. Okay, that's quite an interesting question. I I'm thinking about it now.
Okay.
I'm okay, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure some of those signs would be so visible to someone else to see.
Yeah.
Because like we just established, it's I mean for some people it's very clear, right? It
Yeah.
affects when they start struggling, it affects their productivity, it affects the things
Yeah.
that they are doing. But I think
Yeah.
for some others it may not be as clear. They may still be able to get things done and make good progress, have results. But probably if you are really close to them. So I'm thinking now, aside discernment, you can tell by discernment that it's maybe like spiritually,
Yes.
some pastors in that line or in that regard may be able to tell. But aside that, you may have to be close to the person, especially for those that they're still able to make progress with their work and all of that, to be able to tell
Yeah.
that they are struggling. Uh, so I'm looking at my own journey now. Like maybe some signs would be that the person is hiding things, but then like I'm establishing that someone far away may not be able to tell. Maybe close. The person would have to be close
Yeah.
enough be able to
To
tell like
tell. Yeah,
there's
that's
some
true.
sort of familiarity and relationship. So it's like, okay, you
Yes.
notice that for a while this person has been maybe person is more outgoing before or the person talks more. And then during that period
Mm.
that they struggle, they just sort of withdraw. So that was like
Yeah.
a sign for me. Yes. And some people that I interact with. So I'm interacting with you, you're always talking, you're always but then you just withdraw and I'm able to tell some you
Mm.
probably missed your streak or you probably relapsed, something like
Yeah.
that. But if I'm not close to you before to know the pattern, the
Yes.
usual pattern before that relapse, I wouldn't necessarily
Mm.
know, right? So yeah, that withdrawal from the place of that comes as a result of guilt, right? And
Yeah.
shame. Yeah, you just and a lot of voices in your head. It's like you don't want to have anything to do with anybody. At that point, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to stay in my
Yeah.
room. I'm staying in the dark. And I think it's similar to even suicidal tendencies, right? Because
Yeah.
when I was much younger, I had struggled with suicidal tendencies, right? So
Mm.
now that I'm answering this question, I'm seeing that it was quite similar. Yeah, when I had
Yes.
those suicidal tendencies and when I was struggling with masturbation, the outward signs were almost the same. But
Mm.
yeah, my parents couldn't really tell, or my siblings, because I hid it well. But by the time they found that those were some of the things they could point back to, but then they just thought that it's because I'm quiet. Who even knows?
Mm.
Maybe because those things started when I was much younger. Probably that was
Yeah.
why I even picked up quietness as a personality, because that's something I've been reflecting
Exactly.
on recently. Yeah, and then because it happened when I was much younger, then I learned to be that way because some of these things, when we are born as babies, it's not like
Yeah.
this, except for some genetic factors, which are not even as much as the one that we pick up from our environment. So
True.
I believe I picked up some of those things, just being quiet, withdrawn, when you are struggling, not wanting to interact with people because you feel ashamed. You think that
Mm,
you would be seen as an hypocrite, right?
yes.
You just want to avoid things, avoid people. I'll say those are some of the signs. Those are some of the signs. But then for some others, it could even probably be the opposite. Then interesting because yeah, because yeah, you may think that this is the pattern, and then you interact with some people, and then you notice that it's
Yeah.
actually really the opposite. So they may, when it comes to this thing, because it's tied to like psychology, personality, and habits, it may not be
Yeah.
fixed in stone. So for some others, it may be the opposite at that point because they are trying to run away from
Mm,
that guilt, from that shame.
yeah.
And so they start going out more. They start binge watching. They start doom scrolling, eating excessively. Uh for some they are avoiding food, some they are eating excessively. So you see there are like
Mm,
two sides to it. But then I think
yes.
the what we could establish is that there would be some unusual patterns from the way the person usually is before that struggle, that season of
Yeah.
struggle or that period of struggle.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel you answered that so beautifully. You answered that so
Thank you.
beautifully. Thank you. Thank you. So, you mentioned withdrawal, and that's so true. Like for me too, there've been seasons I just want to be alone. Just anybody should just get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a terrible thing, honestly. It's a terrible thing, right? So being withdrawn, don't and another thing you mentioned that I loved so much, you mentioned that shyness or that quietness that comes as a result, right? I like you established is not fixed, like it's not everybody that might be fixed that way. But yes, I think it's especially when you grow up in like a Christian like environment and you know what you're doing is bad. I think it's kind of emphasizes that withdrawal and like being quiet and all of that. But I think if you grow up in an environment where it was seen as normal,
Mhm.
then there would be like a different reaction. So
Yeah.
that's another interesting
That
aspect.
context. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. Yeah, thank you. Let me now emphasize more on that. Thank you very much for sharing that. So I want you to talk about like your parents, like how so you like okay, let's before we talk about your parents, let's talk about, so in the book you mentioned there was this lecturer that would come and like share at least the word of God
The
with you
same, the
guys
same
that would
lecturer that told me, the same lecturer that told me I had the potential to be best graduating student.
oh,
Yeah.
see, I love this your lecturer. Oh. Ah, this your lecturer tried for you. Like I I don't know if you would eventually watch this, but thank you, Mr. Shegun. Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you did. Thank you on behalf of Bogo. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, so is a good lecturer. I wish we have more people like that. I wish we have more people that are intentional like that. So I feel it was intentional at sharing the word of God in school. And from the book I learned that because of what he did, right, he asked the question, would you make it to heaven if you were to die today? And it seems
Yeah.
that brought fear in your heart, and then you went to meet him, and you told him like your struggles, and then he helped you, right? There was a follow up, and there was a plan to move forward, and all of that. And even when you failed a couple of times, he was there to tell you you can keep going. So it showed the intentionality and I also thank God that you went to Wesley, right? Imagine you had gone to, what was the other school you said again?
In Lord, you don't know. You don't
Ah,
know.
ah, Illinois. No, that would have not worked though.
Okay.
That would
Okay.
have no, no, no.
You wouldn't know. Oh yeah, I'm also thankful I went to
Well, it's
Leslie.
true,
I
we'll
was
never
only
know,
able
but
to see the community.
you said sorry, you said?
Yes, I said I'm also thankful I went to Wesley because I was really able to build a community, with yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I think private school is much, much closer, like in terms of the people. So it's not so broad. Like public school, there are a lot. Like, ah, it's like my brother now and my sister, they are just suffering. I'm like, bro, you guys, now you guys want to go to public school. I don't know. Who sent you? Yeah, so it's that's another like topic on education. I believe you can also talk more on that, but we're not going there. Right. So thank you, Mr. Shegun, for all that you've done. Right. So let's talk about the process of coming out, right? Maybe I know it's already in the book, but just for context, like what were the significant roles that Mr. Shegun played in your life that was made it easy for you to like overcome and then even write a book, right? Let's talk more on that very well.
Mm. I would say it's two-sided. So
Okay.
the role that it played was that of um I mean a mentor, right? Like we established, and the what was happening there, or the process was the process now. Or basically what was happening there is accountability, right? So
Yeah.
I said it two-sided because I had to be accountable to him as well while he's playing his role as the mentor. And I by being accountable, I mean it meant that I wouldn't lie, I wouldn't try to cover up, I wouldn't try to hide things from him.
Yeah.
So trusting um God in his life and trusting his sound judgment to guide me even even through the struggles, because you know and I think it happens much more in I mean the victim's head than the mentors or the person that's trying to help you, or the coach, because it can be a coach as well,
Yeah.
right? um where you are thinking, okay, you've told this person the first time, you've opened up the first time. It may be
Mm.
difficult to open up the first time, right? But I think it's much more difficult to keep opening up when you keep
Yes.
struggling, as you keep struggling,
Yeah,
because then
it's
you're
much more.
thinking, yeah. So
Mm.
that was the case for me, and that's something I've also noticed as, when I got to interact with some people. So then I see that you are still struggling. I know that you're still struggling. I probably have to ask you, and then it's then you see the struggle in their head, like they didn't want to disappoint, the person. They
Mm.
don't want it to look like when are they going to like they just keep struggling. They're not going to stop. They don't want to keep stressing this person out,
Yeah.
right? But I would say once, I mean, as so far as this person is someone you trust already, and you're able to open up to this person, right? Some of those things that are thinking in your head, most of them are not true. Like
Yeah.
99% of the
Mm.
time, they are not. It's not true that this person is stressed out by you, that you're coming to
Yeah.
say the same thing. Yes, the person may be disappointed because they also want you to change. They also want that
Mm.
case to be like, I mean, a thing of the past in your life, but they're not gonna throw you away, basically. Right. So I think
Yeah.
that's something important that the I don't want to use word victim, the victor, because we are victorious. The victor should have in their mind. So that was something I had. It wasn't
Yes.
easy, but that was something God just helping me. I had to be accountable. So even when there's sometimes that I may not call him because I've relapsed, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm not go to visit him because I've relapsed. Because I think um that we had that visit at least once a week, even with the
Mm.
like he was very busy. I was also busy with school, but at least once a week, right? Minimum,
Yeah.
right? So if I probably won't come, you know, that week, or I try to ignore maybe when he checks up, then he could tell that there's a
Yes.
problem. That's withdrawal that we're talking about. Then
Yes.
he could tell that there's something going on. And then at that point, he may just have to instruct me, come to my office now,
Mm.
or something like that. Or even create time when
Yes.
if he doesn't have time. So I would say that was the role that he played. And that was those are some of the things that I had to push through in my head
Yeah.
to become to remain accountable. And you discover in the book I said this same thought I just explained was now sort of what became the breaking point. I believe strongly that with any addiction, see, even if it has lasted years, even if
Mm.
you started, stopped, relapse again after years, and then I believe there's always that turning point. And we need to
Yes.
believe it too because uh if you don't believe it, then you just wallow there and then you just make your the manifestation of your victory, longer to come. And you just make
Yes.
it longer for it to manifest that your victory. So there's always that turning point. For some, it's easy. They just say this
Mm.
thing. Because I remember the story of one of uh, our pastors then. I think in his case, it was the addiction of drinking and smoking or something. I think it was drinking. And he
Yeah.
just said his testimony is that day he just said, he just told his friend, let's stop this thing we are doing. We can't continue like this. And that was the
Mm.
last time. So sometimes it
Mm.
comes easy like that. Some other times it may not be as easy, but like there will always be that turning point. And I believe like there's that there's that you know um
Grace.
there's that time of victory. There's that season. Like when it's your
Yes.
time, it's your time. So we need to know that.
Yes.
And we need to you may keep struggling, but just know that you're a victor already, and you would manifest. I mean, that manifestation will become complete. Right. So that's
Yeah.
something I always like tell people when I'm trying to guide them through that process. So that was what I mean. I didn't really have that belief in my head then. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those struggles was sort of what led to that turning point, which is what I'm saying that there's always going to be that turning point, but I didn't know right at that time. So
Yeah.
just sin came like I told him again that I still struggled with this, and then it's like he just shared because then Mr. Shegun also there's this place of not I mean all our conversations was not around um addiction, and I
The
think that was
struggle.
also a
Yeah.
good thing. That was also a good thing.
Yeah.
So some other times, so I'm not that also helps me as well because I'm not afraid that everything that we're talking about is around addiction. Like I
Mm.
said, we talk about around my academics, how am I doing well, how will
Yes.
I become this best person, what talk
Mm.
about guys, everything. Like I was content to share all these things. I'm not feeling afraid that every if I say any other thing about this is going to bring impact to this, So and then it was
Yeah.
also like based on the things I'm sharing, right, he would also share as well, some of his experiences in terms of that he knows would benefits me, that he knows would be helpful to me. And so that was how he just
Yes.
shared that thing that like he has spoken with some other people and like since he spoke with them, they've come out of it. It's now like that season of maintaining that manifestation of victory.
Yeah.
And, that just did something to me. I didn't know that conversation would happen. I didn't know how it would go. I didn't know, but I believe that was like that
A
time,
turning point.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
we may not know the time, which is why we just have to keep being consistent. I think it's similar
Mm.
to when, that period where your time will just come and, things will just begin to fall in place. But the thing is,
Yes.
you all know the time. Somebody will just blow up, someone just become popular, someone just
Mm.
become, wealthy. But it didn't just happen at that time. There was actually,
Fine.
that
There
consistency.
was a
So in my
progress.
case now, yeah, yeah. So in my case now, so that process of always being accountable. Imagine
Mm.
I stopped being accountable from the
Yeah.
beginning. It won't get to that
Mm.
point, that time. And so that conversation, I just did something to me. And then I just went back and I was just ruffled so much by it. And, you know, that just, I think created all the, that perfect time for God to do his thing. And it just made that decision. But then it still takes consistency even after that. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I feel the points you shared are so profound. Thank you. Thank you. So while you were answering the previous question, like a thought came. Um, I know we're running out of time, and I don't want you to be late
it's
for to
fine.
where you
I
are going
still
to.
have some time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so is it necessary for everyone struggling to come out in the world and say, "Hey, I was once struggling, and now I'm not," right? But like you mentioned, testimony helped you, right? Hearing the testimony of others helped you, right? And I feel this is I recently like came out and voiced out that this is what I'm struggling with. Right, there were few people I told privately, like yourself, right? But now I just you know what, um, enough is enough, right? So, do you think it's necessary? Like you wrote a whole book. And we're still going to talk about like how did your parents take it, how the briefly, right? But like you wrote a whole book, right? So which was very interesting to me. So like, do you think it's necessary like for everyone, like especially sexual like addiction, is it necessary like to come out to be upfront? Because like you said, there's withdrawal, there's you wanting to be alone, right? And you might be accountable to one person, but I think there's still is a very strong need for accountability, right? At least 1%, right? But when you know that okay, you're matured like enough, you think it's necessary to then voice out like, okay, this is what I've been through, so that it can be like a testimony also to others that to hear. So what's your take on this?
Uh, I think I okay to answer the question directly. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for that word necessary, right? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't think it's maybe it's something that must be like a to do. If you get what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah,
But I do think
I get.
testimonies are powerful. So now the format will be because then
Mm.
you said come out to the world in that sense. You
Mm.
you can give testimony that is not necessarily. It depends on
Yeah,
what I think you get what I'm saying. So it can be to a
I get.
friend. Yes, it can be
Mm.
to like now there's some areas I
Close.
wasn't very
Yes.
yeah, a close circle.
Mm.
So there are some things that I've
Yeah.
shared as testimony to and it's probably only to my siblings, right? But it's
Mm.
testimony because
Yeah.
even telling them at that point is as long as it's coming out of my head and it's coming out of my mouth. So it may not be
Mm.
and but then gradually it may now become something open, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the thing about social media has made it very easy to share and then probably form a but and probably like form this sort of should I say movement because when you share, people would always be
Yeah.
inspired by what you share and then they
Mm.
sort of now start looking up to you in a certain way, either as okay, we can be accountability partners or a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
someone to actually look up to. But yeah,
Mm.
it may be necessary for someone's journey, but it may not be necessary for
Mm-hmm.
another person's journey, right? I
True.
recently came across a lady on Instagram and as was around sexual purity, and I kept looking at that page. So it's more like she was being intentional about, she had done this before, but then she made this decision to be sexually pure.
Mm.
And I kept looking at it and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, can I do this? Because then I'm thinking, okay, you've done this thing before, but then like um,
Yeah. It's
it
not for
may be
everyone to
necessary
do.
for a
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So I think, and then if you have that burden, that leading, if you think at this
Yeah.
point it has become necessary, you go for
Mm.
it. So at that point, if it had become, I need that become necessary. I mean, I didn't know. It just came as a body because I actually wasn't free. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything. I don't knew that this thing was in my chest. I couldn't really tell those around me, but I felt like I could tell Mr. Shegun because of that question he asked. Like you said, it created that sense of
Mm.
fear, which is, I think,
Yeah.
timing also is important, but we don't know the time. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
That it was time. It was the time for me to
Mm.
speak up to him. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was the time. So because he had been asking that question, if I, writing a book compresses things. So, yeah, he had been asking that question every time. That was not the first time he was
Mm.
asking that question.
Mm.
But that was the time the question did something to me. That was not the first
And
time I'd
it's
been
like this
struggling.
time he asked you directly.
Do you understand? So I'd been
Yeah.
struggling all this while.
Yes.
Probably my heart was adding, just teach us
Mm.
computer, let's leave this place. What you know, but that
Abi.
was the
Wait,
time.
it's computer he was teaching.
Yes.
You said it's computer. Wow, wow, wow. Interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was
That's
programming
interesting.
stuff. So that was the
Uh-uh.
time. Right?
Hmm. Okay.
That was the time,
That's
that
good.
question did something to me. I wasn't myself.
Yes.
It was like fire, fire, fire. And it was similar to the way
Hmm.
that led to the book publishing. Fire, fire, fire. I must publish
Hmm.
this now. I was not myself. Because honestly, now we go to the parents aspect of it. The kind of upbringing I had
Okay.
and the way my parents brought me up is not something that by
Yes.
myself I would have had the courage to do. So the only reason I could do that was
Yes.
because I was, when they said arrest this person, that I think it's Rick. I don't know. I had to arrest us, like did it, yeah. So I think I know
So
that
you,
answered the question.
yeah,
It may be necessary for someone's
yeah.
journey, it may
It
not
does.
be.
It
But
does. It does.
overall, I think testimonies are powerful. So even if it's one person you are sharing to,
Yes.
or someone you look up to,
Yes.
you're able to share to,
Yes.
and have an accountability partner. It's good.
Yeah, but I believe it's important, like you voice out to at least one person that can help you through the journey. So thank you very much for sharing that, Bogo.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So let's go on to parents. Like, so how did your parents take it? How did you tell it to them? Me, I'm interested though. Me, I want to know. Right. So how like especially with the book, right? Like you say you want to write a book with this topic. Your father is a pastor. How would my daughter write a book with this topic? I'm just painting a scenario. So let's understand. Bogo, so how did your parents take it? How did this, like, when you shared the idea of the book, right? The Mr.
Yeah.
Shogun assist with that. Like, yeah. So,
Okay. So, like I said, okay, answering for Mr. Shepherd first. Like I said, he was, he is, still is like my mentor. So it wasn't just that thing we're talking about. So I was comfortable to share other
yeah.
aspects of my life with him. And then when I told
Mm-hmm.
him the idea for the book, I wasn't just telling him, oh, I want to write the book. I was telling him this, like what led to it, like what led to it. So it's like, okay, let's pray about it. So he took it
Okay.
pretty much well. And then also at that point, so it had been already almost 2 years. Like I said, I was already out of school. Yeah. Was that? I mean, oh my gosh, I can't remember the timeline now. But say, well, yeah, it was already a few years after I had overcome. That means I overcame it while I was right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It was while I was in school. Yeah. Around to like
Okay.
say 300 level there about. Anyway, to be clear
Okay.
from the book. So for my parents, right? Okay, when I didn't tell them at the beginning because I knew
Mm.
I was still. So even though I've been able to share to Mr. Shegun and maybe
Yeah.
a few friends, it's still a different thing sharing, telling my parents. So,
Yeah.
and then now telling them I want to write a book about it. So I'm not even sure I told my siblings. I feel like my siblings probably knew from the point I said I want to write about that. So you struggled with this, right? So, um, I think the I started the process because I felt strongly led without telling them, because if I had told them before starting, they would have put fear in me
Mm.
to not start. So I already
Yeah.
started the process. When I heard from God, I want to do this. I don't have rest until I do this. And so when I told
Mm.
them, the first time I told my daddy, the book was, I think it was ready. Yeah, it was, I mean, the draft and everything.
Okay.
the, book,
Wow.
the book was ready. Yeah, it was ready. I started the whole process with that because I knew, I mean, there's the face of, not being so free with them in that sense, in that regard.
Mm.
So I already, the book was ready before I
Sorry,
told them.
sorry,
So when I
sorry to
told them,
pause. Sorry, Bogo, was this the first time your parents were learning that you struggled with this, or they already knew before the book? Do you remember?
I think it's the first time. I don't remember telling them before then. Yeah.
Okay.
Except
Okay.
maybe they knew and did not tell me. I don't remember having
Mm.
any such conversation about something like that with them. Yeah. So I said
Yeah.
that maybe they knew because it's possible my mom knew. I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I personally I didn't have that conversation with them. And if she knew, she may not even know. Uh I really don't know, but I didn't have that conversation. So I believe it was the first time. And so when I was telling
Okay.
them, it was more like, okay, I've struggled with this, but God has helped me. Right. So it was
Mm-hmm.
their
Yeah.
first time learning about the book. And for my dad,
Mm.
how he took it was I don't know how he took it because I'm not him. But his response to me was I should wait before I publish the book. And I was like,
Mm.
because the book was ready, so I was only telling you about the book launch because I wanted to launch the book. And
You were thinking far. You have gone far already. Book launch
I
sharp.
had gone far
Okay.
already because I just so that was the fear then he was putting in me like wait till
Mm.
this time because he was thinking okay there should be a better time to do this than doing it
Mm.
at this time.
Mm.
Maybe wait
Mm.
till you get a job first or wait till you get admission first,
Okay. Mm.
master's admission because it probably
Mm.
feels like there may be a way it affects all of those things and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Your
that was
image and yeah.
yeah, sharing something like that. So
Mm.
I mean I thought about all of that, but the 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 body was much more stronger. But then I think um how I did it also mattered, like doing it carefully, right? And then I
Mm-hmm.
think I think I also discussed this with Mr. Shevmo and what made it eventually easy for me or not think too much about this because I'm sharing um a story of victory, right? Uh
Yeah.
and it's not something that like okay would take you to prison, you know. People even share things like that, like maybe murdering someone, I don't know, as testimony. So this is not
Hey.
as
Okay.
previous as that. You get so all of those thoughts.
Yes.
I'm trying to share some of the thoughts directly in my head. It's not as grievous as a crime that would. It's okay. So somebody sees it or an official sees it. Will I go to prison because of
Yeah.
that? A lot of people
No.
struggle. A lot of people struggle with many secret addiction and things like that. And they
Yeah.
even talk about freely. I think also because when I was writing the book, I had to do a lot of research, and then I found out people talk about this thing freely. So why shouldn't
Mm.
I be able to talk about my victory story freely as well? People talk
Really.
about the fact
Yeah.
that because it's a normal thing. When you do research,
Yeah.
masturbation is they even say it's healthy. Science even says it's healthy,
Mm.
right? Research. I'm telling
Hey.
you, it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? I think I thought I'd put that in the book as well. So you
Yeah,
have
you
to
did.
even be careful. So it's more like at that point, so it's more like these people are talking about this thing freely, but then I'm afraid to share my overcoming. I
Yeah.
mean, that would help other people and would also even help me. Right. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was some of the thoughts. And then for my mom, I really don't know. She's the one that read the book. I think before the book got published, I gave her the draft to read, and
Okay.
she was just quiet about it. Yeah, I remember.
Mm.
So I think she felt like, yeah, so that was the first time. That was the first time they were knowing about it. So she felt like,
Yes.
wow, as a parent, as a mother, like, why didn't she know about this during the process to
Mm.
help me feel it? Almost feeling like she probably failed in that regard. And this was the
Yeah.
same way um um a church member, like also the family that sponsored me through school, he also felt the same way.
Mm.
Like so they probably felt like they were not even though they were there because they were really there, they were teaching us on the school and all of that, they probably felt they were not they
Mm.
could have done better, which is good, but like
Yeah.
don't blame yourself, right? So that was how they
Mm.
felt about it. So for my mom and that pastor, I think that was the reaction I got, like, oh, maybe they could have done better. Maybe
Don't
if they had
remember.
done the certain day, I may have been able to open up to them, even right from the early stages, right?
Mm.
But yeah, that was how my parents took it. I think basically I didn't let how because they would have felt uncomfortable about it. but I didn't let that
Mm.
affect me. And then the good thing was it was a story of victory, right? That would help
Yeah.
other people. And so eventually my dad took it well. He was just concerned about the
Mm-hmm.
timing and all of those, some of those technicalities I I shared
Yeah.
about. But then when he finally, when I stood my ground and probably I prayed too, so probably God touched his heart and all of that. It took it well. He personally bought I think 50 copies of the book, and he paid me. He actually paid me
Wow.
because I thought he didn't pay me, but he paid me. Ah, thank God. So he paid
Okay.
me, and then those 50 copies I had to give them free because that was he wanted. Give it free to teenagers in
Yes.
my community and church. Yeah, and then he basically sponsored the launch, the physical launch. Yeah, got the
Yes.
speaker, invited guests, paid for it. So a lot of
Mm.
money because I didn't have money. God just helped me to
Yeah.
the point of of publishing the book and printing it out, which my mom also supported. So I would say at the end of
Yes.
the day, even though they may have felt uncomfortable about it, they eventually took it
Yes.
well and really supported me.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you very much. So, two more questions, then we call it a day. We're 1 hour in already. It's already long. So maybe if you want to be brief this time, you can be brief. Right? But two more questions. So, how did others take it? Like, I know, like, it's not it. You should not really care about like what others say. In like, if you know that you are free, I don't think you should necessarily be fixated on what others should say, but obviously there's still that concern, like what would people say? And I guess that was the initial feeling that your dad had, like timing, let
Yeah,
me not
yeah,
publish. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think it's important to also discuss on this in your experience, right? Because you wrote a book, this was 2021 that you published it, I believe. Yeah. So in your experience, how did others like feel, like your school people, like your classmates, your people in your environment? How,
yeah.
like, was there stigmatization?
Mhm.
How was that English word? Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't know how others would take it or how they were taking it. Yeah. So for me, it
Yeah.
was just more like I said, that body. I did think about what people say. That was the fear. And from the first time I heard
Mm,
it to the second time and all that fear around
mm,
publishing it. Um, but I because I didn't know, I think it didn't affect me much. I mean, I had those worries and
okay.
thoughts in my head, but I'm just going to do this
Yeah.
because I think unrest and the burden was greater than that. Or maybe
Yeah.
I didn't let it affect, or maybe because I was in, there's also the place of, just constantly being in constant fellowship with God. I think that
My
really
God.
helped. I mean, I know that really helped. So every
Yes.
fear, I'm taking it back to God. Every worry, every concern,
Mm,
I'm taking it back, right, to God.
yeah.
But the part I would say I probably started, I may have started noticing some of that was because I was still in school and I think I talked about the book, also sharing it with our chaplain then also. It was also very
Mm,
supportive.
yeah.
There's just that hesitation at first, but eventually
Yes.
I must do this, then I do it. So, and it goes away. So I would say I didn't really know how others were taking it. But I mean, fast forward, I was just, I mean, so a friend were talking about that time. So if people
Mm-hmm.
outside there that would have known, and then he was just telling me how that. So people were like, so this, because it's one of the sisters, they're like, mama kind of thing. So this mama was struggling with this thing all this while, all of those conversations, which is normal. But
Yes.
thankfully, I didn't know. None of it got to me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They were probably gossiping about it, but it didn't get to me. And since it didn't get to me, I just felt like,
Mm,
and I didn't feel
you were
eyes
fine.
around me, honestly, because I was sitting in the choir
Mm,
singing. I didn't
yeah.
necessarily feel those eyes, or probably God just shielded me. I really
That's
don't
good.
know
That's
because
good.
they're probably there, but I didn't
Yes.
notice them, honestly. there was always that
Yeah.
hesitation. Like, even when I was sharing in chapel, I talked about it.
Mm.
I think for like 5 minutes, I was so scared. Oh my gosh, I was
Mm.
very scared. But I did it either way. It's more like I did everything afraid. It wasn't easy, but
Mm.
I just did it afraid all through the process.
Mm. That's good. Doing it afraid. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So thank you. This episode has been insightful. It has been interesting. Just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Right.
Thank
So
you.
this is the final question. This is the question we ask all our guests on the show. Right. So the title of the show once again is the Learn With Me series. So the final question is, what is that one thing that you're currently learning? Right. Yeah, that's the question. It could be schoolwork, it could be something personal, yeah, whatever.
Okay. I mean, I have to think because it's not one thing. Um,
See,
but I think
if you don't want to say
just
one thing, it's fine. Okay.
I think I'll try to say one, and which
Okay.
is yeah, recently, um, I've just been reflecting a lot around growth in terms of because I'll be turning a year older soon, and there's just been that reflection.
Yes. Next month.
Yeah, so I think I'm learning to be patient with myself and
Okay.
learning. Um, I'm also learning how to be more visible online. It's things around
Mm,
growth, like probably what is hindering me is my personality hindering me to some extent, and how can I
mm,
overcome this? You know, and how can I really
mm.
push through um all of that? I would say
Yeah.
that's something I'm learning. I don't know how to put it in terms of one word. Just
Yeah.
probably learning how to be a
But
better version of myself.
exactly. Growth. That's growth. Like being in a better version of yourself. I believe that's something I am also working towards. So, yeah, thank you once again for being on this show. It's a pleasure to have
Thank you.
Jesugbogo on the Learn With Me series. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for the time at Crawford. We did not get to talk
Yeah,
about like how unhappy you were at Crawford when you came, and then how you became happy later. Right?
yeah.
There's no time for that. But maybe maybe we'll have part two. I don't know.
Maybe in the comment section.
If
Yeah.
you want part two, put comment section, comments, yes. So thank you very much. All right. So for
Thank
our
you.
guests watching, once again, this is the Learn With Me series. So stay tuned. Kindly like and subscribe to this channel if you want to watch interesting conversations like this. So we'll bring on like amazing guests, right? So our target is like young individuals doing excellently well in different sectors, right? We'll have conversations with them. So if you want intelligent conversations like this is a channel you should subscribe to. So kindly hit the subscribe button and yeah, see you in the next episode.